The very lovely Adalisa says, "Oh my goodness, Matt. It's the match I was seriously praying not to happen." She's referring to Fedal. "I don't know about you, but I'm getting my handkerchief ready because I know I'm going to cry. Rafa is playing some very intense tennis." But have no fear, Adalisa, because there's one big thing you're forgetting. Against Rafa at Center Court Wimbledon, Roger Federer is undefeated when he doesn't have to deal with both Rafa and mononucleosis. Take the mono out, and Roger Federer guaranteed to win. Oh yeah, one more thing of health tea before I switch back to Coffee Friday. Probably tomorrow. Today, on Coffee Break Tennis, we break down the big event. Rafa Nadal versus Roger Federer. It's finally going to happen at Wimbledon after 11 years. Plus, le plus, we will not forget Novak Djokovic and Roberto Bautista Agut. A matchup which may be trickier than many out there are anticipating. Many people writing it off already. Take Roberto Bautista Agut seriously here. And also, many people have disagreed with me on the court speed. Some people have said I'm straight up lying about the courts being slow this year. Others say, Matt, it doesn't matter that the courts are slow. Who cares? The best man will win. At the end of the show today, we will document the different players and commentators who've talked about how incredibly slow these courts are and why it matters. All that and nothing more on today's Coffee Break Tennis. Oh, that throat coat with echinacea tea. It's good after you've been drinking it for a while. It grows on you. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your lovable, huggable host, Matt Bradshaw, with more tennis IQ in this little finger than 90% of the bozos out there, journalists and media types covering this great sport. I am your original Fed head, the king of unibros. In fact, put a picture of some of my people. See them? Those are some unibros. They are my people. I am their king. Welcome to my humble abode. It's a good time of year. We got what we wanted. We got the big three in the Final Four. We've got an interesting character there to meet. Djokovic, in this case, Roberto Bautista Agut. And I know I've been harsh on Serena lately, or last year and a half or so, but Serena has seemed to be more happy, a better attitude towards the sport, and playing better than ever. We've got the biggest names all showing up to do big things in the final days of Wimbledon, the best time of the year for tennis fans and tennis players alike. So before we get into anything else, let's go straight to the big kahuna. Let's talk about Fedal. This is a match we have been wondering, why not, for 11 years. You have to realize, Rafa showed up in 2006 and got spanked in the final. A lot of people forget this. 2007, more competitive, but Roger still wins pretty defiantly in the fifth set. 2008, the greatest match of all time. I believe the former greatest match, sometimes I get confused, is it 81 or 80? It's definitely got to be 1980. John McEnroe, Bjorn Borg, the former greatest match of all time. Already, people are wondering, could this match be even greater? Because Roger and Rafa have adapted their games, they've grown their games, and they're playing better than they ever have. Well, I don't know if something like that's going to happen. It would take a pretty special mix of things. Things that can't even really happen now because the darkness coming in at the end of the match was a big thing, and now you got this roof that would close to turn on lights. So it would take a special mix of things to happen to be anything like 2008. But do not underestimate how great this match could be on Friday. Now, people like Adalisa, who we love here at Coffee Break Tennis, are pretty nervous because the courts are playing super slow. Now, some people are sick of hearing me talk about how slow these courts are, so I'm not going to get into it too much, other than this one clip I'm going to play for you, and then later in the show we'll talk all about it. Take a listen to Guido. I thought it was Guido. Now they're calling him Guido. We never know how to say anyone's name here because the commentators don't know, and different commentators say different names different ways. Case in point, this lady's name, we did a special broadcast for the patron saints yesterday, and we talked about this. Put it on the screen. Muchova. How do you say it? Darren Cahill says Muhova, silent C. Another commentator said Mukova. Another one said Muchova. And then another one said like a soft C, like a mush, like a mushy mush, Mushova. You tell me. Comment below how to say it. Well, Guido or Guido, who knows now, in his press conference after losing to Roberto Bautista Agut. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the variation in speeds along the tour. It seems like the Wimbledon grass almost plays like Indian Wells in a way. Am I seeing things correctly there?
Well, compared to maybe other years, yes, it's much slower, and I think the matches now are more playable than maybe in other years. So you can play from the baseline without any problem. So, but I think that's a good thing, because grass, I think in previous years was just for servers. So maybe guys like, I don't know, maybe in the past like Karlovic or maybe other guys that serves very good, they can find a way to win easier than now.
So I know some people hate serve bots, and I've even seen comments that say, Matt, God forbid. There was a good comment. I think I have it here, actually. Let me read it to you. Exactamundo. Clint Beavis. That's a great show, Beavis and Butthead. Clint Beavis says, stop whining about the court speed. God forbid we don't have a serve bot fest at Wimby. The best players will win. If you don't win, you're not good enough. So in that case, why don't we make every court super slow? Why don't we switch to all clay all year, and if you don't win, you're not good enough. Or we could do something really cool and actually have variety, so different players have different strengths shine through at different tournaments. You know, the way it was meant to be. But you heard Guido Pella say, or Guido, who knows, say that guys like Karlovic in the past might have had easier ways to win here. And I get it. In the 90s, some people said Wimbledon grass court tennis was getting boring. You just had serve-a-thons where there were no rallies whatsoever. And don't get me wrong, I'm cool with slowing down the courts a little so we avoid the serve-a-thons with no rallies whatsoever. But that's the problem. They kept slowing down the grass every single year. So much so, listen to the next part of what Guido Pella said.
But today the court was like without the grass, so it was much easier for us to move, to play like a clay court. But I think in Wimbledon, if you can win just one match, the courts are getting slower and slower every day. So I think for us it's much easier.
I mean, come on. What more do you need out there if you disagree with me? Every day it gets better. It plays more and more slow like clay. Come on! So, Adalisa, you got a good reason to worry. Guido Pella over here is telling us that the thing's playing just like clay. That would mean the King of Clay on Friday probably has a good chance to beat the King of Grass on green clay at Wimbledon this year. And the other thing he said about servers like Karlovic, yeah, maybe for those guys, but, Federer has a lot more going for his game. But when he goes up against, and that works against everyone else, but when he goes up against Djoker or Rafa, Federer absolutely needs that big serve of his, precise serve, I should say, but big enough with the accuracy that he has to hit spots to be extremely effective. It's his best weapon against Djokovic and Rafa. That's why whenever the courts are slow somewhere, it's much harder for Roger to beat them. That's why so many Fed fans are really upset about this. It's almost as bad as if you went to the French Open and switched it over to blue clay. But I do think Roger Federer can win here, and I think so because of the way the Nishikori match unfolded. So first off, Roger Federer, everyone had a tough first set today, except for Roberto Bautista Agut. But Djokovic probably should have lost his first set. He played incredible to dig out of that. And David Goffin threw everything he had in the first set. After he lost it, he figured, I can't win. And you even heard Chris Fowler, Darren Cahill complaining about they just didn't see enough heart and effort come out after he had lost the first set, second set, third set. Sam Querrey, God bless the man. He did a good job, and he should have. Rafa should feel fortunate to get out of that first set because he almost got broken twice. And if they went to a tiebreak, I don't know if Rafa wins, especially after having his serve broken 2 times in a row. It'd be a little shaky. And he looked, he started off playing great, and then he looked really uncomfortable, and then he steamrolled. Then he looked incredible. A big factor for Sam Querrey, and he talked about it in his press conference. By the way, Sam Querrey picks Roger Federer to beat Rafa on Friday and says he'll be at home watching. Sam Querrey couldn't hit the out wide in the deuce court to the Rafa backhand. Couldn't hit it. Every time he went for it, he missed it. And that is a problem because one of the things Federer does so well is he will hit all the spots in a match early. And he shows you, okay, I can hit all these spots. See? I aced you there, I aced you there, I aced you over there. Wide T, everything. Then the challenge for the returner after there is, okay, he hits all the spots. Which spot will he hit next? But with Sam Querrey, you keep missing one good spot to hit. Rafa kind of knows, that's not working for you. You're probably going to go the other way where you've been able to make it. I don't have to fear that one as much. You got to worry that maybe it's going to come alive later, but it really didn't. And Sam Querrey said, there was one point in the match where he missed 4 out wide serves in the deuce court, and that was really killing his chances. And in general, Sam Querrey didn't serve the way he needed to, plus the courts are slower. Even though he still had a big enough serve to ace Rafa and hit plenty of great serves today, some of the serves that weren't quite as good, if the grass is playing faster like it used to, Rafa might not have such an easy time getting the ball back. I really liked Sam Querrey's approach of flattening out the cross-court backhand. That was very effective at times in the first set. But overall, Rafa was able to take on the pace of Sam Querrey and redirect it and bust that dude up. No easy way to say it. Roger Federer's match with Nishikori, on the other hand, was a different animal. So the first set, he loses it. The only one of the big three to drop a set today. And I got to tell you, I've been talking about, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about court speed too much, but this tells me a lot. The fact that Roger said in press to the Swiss-German media, where he always gives away the bigger secrets, because he doesn't like to do it in English because it doesn't hit as much. Not enough people translating that Swiss-German over to English. Roger said, I don't think they're intentionally slowing down the courts, after a Swiss-German reporter asked him that, the guy from Switzerland. And Roger says, I spoke to Tim Henman, who is involved with Wimbledon enough to know the process behind the scenes and how they handle the court. They get it ready for the tournament. And just the fact that Roger is going to Tim Henman and asking him, what's up with these courts? That tells me everything I need to know. Plus, I thought Roger was getting over a cold early on, because even the pre-tournament press conference Federer did, he sounds kind of bummed out. Low energy. A little less peppy than usual. And I think he just feels very let down by Wimbledon this year. He's already probably not thrilled that it keeps getting slower, but it's grass, and it's fast enough, and it's bouncing low, so it's always been a good place for him regardless. Now it's even slower. He has to feel almost a little bit betrayed by Mr. Wimbledon. And you heard it right when he got off court after he beat, who was it, Berrettini. He says, it's amazing, this guy's hitting 140-mile-an-hour serves, but not very many aces. I'm curious to see how I'm going to do against a better player with better defense, a better defensive player, if I'm not able to hit as many aces as usual here. I mean, come on. Roger's having a hard time hiding his disappointment with how the court's playing, mainly because he's not getting as many free points. The first game of the match with Nishikori, Roger Federer hits 2 second serves that are pretty good, close to the line, ad court spinning away from the Nishikori backhand. Again, Nishikori's backhand is very good, so that's a little different there, but still, it's a good second serve, like 93 miles an hour. I think the one serve, the first one was 90, mid-90s, close to the line, going away from the backhand. That gets blasted twice, and his serve is broken to start the match. I think that got in Federer's head right away. I think he was upset, and I think he felt a little bit hopeless maybe. Just for a moment there, just a little bit, how am I going to win this? Wimbledon has screwed me this year. Now I'm playing against a guy who can return. Even if I beat this guy, Rafa and Djoker are going to be able to do even more damage to my serve. And the reason why I believe this is because after he got broken, Nishikori holds serve, Federer I think he went down love 40. Either way, he goes down right away in his second service game, which would be, first set. Bye-bye, for sure. I mean, he did lose the first set, but if he got broken twice, it's going to be really hard to come back. I think Federer was thinking to himself just for a second, how the heck am I going to win here? Mr. Wimbledon, you screwed me. And then, of course, he snapped out of it. He stuck with him, didn't win the first set, and then the second set he comes out and he plays incredible. And this is why. And this is why I think Roger has a chance to beat Rafa. Roger says, you know what? Well, the court's playing slow. It's going to hurt my serve. But you know what, Nishikori, you don't have that great of a serve. Your serve's already kind of a weakness. This is not going to help your serve. It's going to slow your little serve down even more. So Roger, normally, you kind of see Federer. Now, he doesn't quit, but you don't see Federer play return games, especially at a place like Wimbledon, where the main thing is hold serve, and you'll have an opportunity on return eventually. You don't see Roger play every point like Rafa. Whether it's serve or return, Rafa's fighting for every single point because Rafa knows his serve's going to be broken. It's not the greatest serve of all time. He's the greatest competitor of all time, maybe. Serve's not the greatest of all time. He knows it's going to be broken. He just has to break more than his serve is broken. Roger, not so much. Sometimes you see Roger kind of, he'll kind of, on an ad court serve, kind of jump out of the way and get in the air and hit that big, like, inside in, up the line forehand or inside out ripper. He just crushes it. And sometimes, Federer has this attitude where, hey, if I make it, I make it. Maybe I'll break. If I miss it, well, I'll focus on holding my serve. You know what I mean? It's not like he's throwing the game away, but he's kind of conserving energy. I'm not going to get into a big rally here. I'm going to go for a big rip, and if you get it back short, I'm going to put it away. And if you miss, well, hey, I got to look at your serve to break coming up soon. And if not, I'm going right back to serving and holding in less than a minute. That's how Federer likes to play. But against Nishikori today, Federer kind of turned into Rafa. All of a sudden, Federer is fighting for every point on return, fighting hard. And I think it's because Federer realized, I'm going to have my serve broken. It's just a fact. The way the Wimbledon grass is playing this year, I'm not going to hold as easy as usual. I'll be broken more. I'm going to break Nishikori, more than he breaks me. And many times, Roger had to hit a great shot that could have been a winner before maybe, and hit one or two more shots. He had to hit 3 put-away shots to put Nishikori away. And I think Federer just embraced it. Look, the slow courts, I'm not going to hit as many winners, or at least the winners won't come as easily, as soon in the rallies. And Nishikori, he won't be able to as well. And you see Federer playing good. This is where I think the clay actually helps Federer. The fact that he played so much on clay this year, he's got a lot of practice playing on very slow courts this year going into Wimbledon. So I know Federer's made a big thing about, it's so different. It's not really going to be a factor here. But it is for his legs. He's used to running around and playing longer points, and he's also used to finding ways to attack and use his variety on a very slow court. He's already been doing it. The low bounce makes it easier to attack. So constantly we see Federer getting these long rallies, play a little defensive just to stay alive, and then when there was an opportunity, Federer would either knife the ball up the line to the Nishikori forehand, not as good as the Nishikori backhand. And a lot of times Nishikori, he'd have to get so low because the court's already bouncing pretty low. With a slice backhand, it's even lower, and he'd kind of pop it up a little, and then Federer would rock that shot and come into net. And then the next ball a lot of time would be a little short, low. Again, you hit a drop volley, it's not going to bounce very high. It's even harder to get to. Thank goodness for the Fed fans that the court is at least bouncing pretty low. So because of this, I see 2 ways. Oh, by the way, there was a comment. Put this on the screen. Zoran Milojevic says, for the title Big 3 Destroy All, I have the impression that you were only talking about Federer. I was not lazy, so I counted how many times you mentioned his name. In 36 minutes, Federer was mentioned 105 times. Djokovic only 48, Nadal 40. Federer, Roger this, Roger serve like that, Roger. You cannot help but notice. It's rough to listen. So, because we believe in equal time, fairness, equality, we have standards here at this show, we will say Djokovic's name 3 times in a row every time we refer to him from now on, and we'll say Rafa's name 3 times in a row as well. That way we have equal time, fairness, equality on the show. So this is why I think Federer has a chance to beat Nadal. I see 2 ways it can play out. Rafa will win because number 1 scenario, which Fed heads fear, Rafa will fight like always, stay alive in points, have his opportunities, hit tons of winners, get his serve broken at times due to the slowness of the court, be able to get into Roger's serve games like no other time at Wimbledon, break much more easily, and Federer just won't be able to hit a ball past him. Rafa will keep the rallies alive. He'll win more of the rallies. He'll break serve enough. He will come out the victor. Rafa, Nadal. It's really hard. You try it. Say Nadal 5 times really fast. You can't do it. Only I can. Number 2, and this is the one I'm favoring. Is it because I'm biased? Because I love Federer? Because this is the one I'm going to go with. I think number 2. Rafa loses in 4 and 5 because the slowness of the court actually hurts Rafa's ability to hit winners as well. And Roger, using the low, it is still grass. It's slow, but it's grass. So it's low, and Roger will have chances to stay alive in rallies with Rafa, use that slice backhand effectively to get Rafa in uncomfortable positions, come up to net, hit tons of drop volleys. If you can move Rafa off the court, we even saw Sam Querrey come to net with some pretty good success in the first set. If Roger can get a return deep into the corner and come to net, he's always going to have a chance. Even if Rafa is just blasting shots, all Roger has to do is redirect it into the open court and keep the volley low. We saw it plenty of times throughout the tournament. Obviously, Rafa has been playing extremely high level. Rafa. He's been playing an extremely high level. He's been beating everyone almost easily. But we have seen times where the ball, Rafa's getting to a ball out wide. It's very low. Not much Rafa can do with it. A lot of these guys, not good enough to know, or I don't want to say not good enough, but not comfortable enough going to net to anticipate this or see this and move into net when Rafa's hitting a very low ball and finish him. I think Roger, that's a major edge. Another adjustment I think was interesting, put this on the screen. You see in the first set, Roger was attacking the second serve of Nishikori, taking it extremely early, and missing a few too many of them. And keep in mind, he just went from Berrettini, who freaking blasts serves really fast, and Nishikori hits them quite slow, quite langsam. Sehr langsam. So I think Roger, in the second set, look at the strike zone. He steps back. This is the contact point. This is where strings touch ball on the Roger side of the court. He steps back, and then after, he plays outstanding. Put the stats on the screen from the second set. It's unreal what Roger did. He's 100% win on first. I think it's like 69, 70% win on second. Perfect at the net. Again, going to be key against Rafa. How many times did we see Roger come to the net and have to play 2 or 3 volleys, but he kept Nishikori running left to right, and eventually the next shot was just too low for Nishikori to do anything with it when he got there. And another incredible thing is Roger wins like some crazy number, like 70% on return in that second set. And then in the third set, Roger's so comfortable after all that, he moves in closer, just not quite as close as the first set. So it'll be very interesting to see where Roger stands on the Rafa serve. I'm anticipating he's going to take it pretty early, and he's going to have to. And like I said, he's already used to having to go for a lot on his serve, knowing that he's not going to be as rewarded as he would normally at Wimbledon. So he's going to be going for these spots big time, and he's going to be ramping it up and just ripping it, which is why I think it's going to be really hard to beat Novak Djokovic. So let's talk about Novak, Djokovic. Play this clip from Guido Pella.
I think everybody knows that if the big three plays, if they play good tennis, it's very, very difficult to win against these guys, because they are like 12 years in a row that they are winning all Grand Slams. So if they play good, I think it's very tough to beat them. But I think Roberto, with his game, it's very, very tough, because he cannot miss a single ball. And I think after 3 hours, he missed very few balls. But of course, he has to be much more aggressive maybe. He has to defend his service game better, because Novak, I think he's the best returner of the tour.
So I've seen people comment below that, Roberto Bautista Agut, he's like a poor man's Djokovic. And maybe the Bautista Agut is flatter and lower, his ball, which, Djokovic has lost to him twice this year. I was fortunate enough to be there for one of them. Like Guido Pella says, I can't remember if the clip I just played for you, because I heard it hours ago today. I can't remember if he said it there or if he said it somewhere else, but he says that Agut is the most consistent guy on tour, except for Djokovic. And Agut loves playing long rallies. And Djokovic is going to give him some long rallies because the courts are so very slow. This is where, you see, I think Djokovic, he likes a faster court. He doesn't like a super fast court. At least, he doesn't want to play someone like Federer on a super fast court because they're going to rob him of a lot of time. But Djokovic likes a pretty fast court because his precision, his aiming, his timing, it's so good. His mobility, his movement's so good that he can take the ball pretty early and hit the ball so deep and run you around. And with a fast court, it doesn't take very long for Djokovic to find a winner. As he's running you left to right, it's going to open up for him pretty soon when the court plays fast. This slower grass, while Djokovic has been very good here, against Roberto Bautista Agut, it's going to be pretty hard to put the guy away. Plus, Bautista Agut is going to hit such a flat, low ball, flatter and lower than Djokovic's, that it's going to be a little easier for him to get the ball past him. Because again, if you can track down the ball with your great wheels, Rafa or Djokovic, your great defense, when the ball is super low on this court, you can't do a whole lot with it. And in Federer's case, if you can get up to the net, you're going to finish. If you can get that ball super low and get them way on the run, and they got to do something with the super low ball way on the run, and you're up at the net, it's not that hard to cover the line and poke that thing in the open court. Point is over. Now, I don't think we're going to see Roberto Bautista Agut come to net and take advantage that much, but I think we're going to see some brutal long rallies. I think he's got a real shot. He's going to have a better shot than anybody else yet who's played Djokovic. And of course, if I have to put money down, I go with Djokovic, but I don't think it's going to be as easy of a match for Djokovic as other matches. Now, it'll be very interesting to see who gets to play first, who's up first. Brad Gilbert said this, in fact. That might be in the head of Roger and Rafa. It's a small factor. Djokovic wins, let's say he wins 6-2, 6-0, 6-1. You know he's super fresh, and Roger and Rafa, that's got to be in their mind a little bit going on court, knowing wow, Djokovic is in the final already, waiting, super fresh, plenty of energy, and we're about to just literally destroy each other's legs in a gruesome, long battle. Because that's the reason why I think this, unless somehow Rafa steamrolls Roger, if Roger just comes out and plays really bad, and Rafa's playing the high level he has been this whole time and uses the slowness of the court to just force Roger in these horrible rallies and forehand to, although the lowness of the court, the low bounce, it's going to make it harder for the Rafa forehand spinning high to the Roger backhand. That pattern, I'm sure we're going to see forehand to backhand a lot, but it's not going to be like the way it is on clay. It's not going to be as bad for sure. But unless something crazy like that happens, and that relies a lot on Roger just missing tons of serves and just playing poorly, I don't think that's going to happen. Unless that happens, we're going to see a good match because it's the slowness of the court means we're going to have a lot of long rallies. It's just going to be a battle. It's going to be a slugfest. But on the other hand, if Roberto Bautista Agut somehow wins, that changes the dynamic too because now Roger and Rafa are super desperate to win it. They already are, sure, but now they really want it because it's you got Bautista Agut in the final. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see who goes up first. Likely Djokovic. And what happens there? Does it have some small effect? I don't know. Small effect. All right. Last thing, and then we'll get out of here. Let me play for you a compilation of clips. Take a listen to players and commentators.
Two-handed slice. About the courts being a little bit slower this year, but we've also found that the ball's bouncing a lot lower.
You actually got to play today.
I did play a little bit in the invitational doubles, and we were all noting, obviously we're not hitting the ball that hard, Pam, or moving that quickly, but all of us noted out there that the court seemed much slower than in years past.
I do think that is an advantage for Rafa, that he got to win against him. Even though it's a different surface, it's playing every bit as slow.
Yeah, the grass here is playing slow, but I think the winds definitely help Rafa's confidence a little bit more. Djoker's and Rogers, I think they're riding high no matter what.
Okay, so that might have been just commentators or former players, at least. This is what I got for you written down. So take a listen to this. Put this on the screen. This is from tennis.com. This is the article where I first heard the term green clay, which I've never heard before. And like I said earlier in the show, it's sad that they would do this. You know what? Let's go straight to this comment. This is Tommy Haas. 2 people commented this to me today. So 2 people had caught this. We'll go with T-Bone first because Mark Mauk goes, I love the name T-Bone. Mark goes into a little more detail. So let's do T-Bone's first and then we'll expound upon that. T-Bone says, "Hi, Matt. I just saw an interview with Tommy Haas after the Nole Goffin, the Gopher match. Cousin Fed. I think he lost his Cousin Fed title after that match. He said he saw some matches in the stadium and he is totally surprised how slow the courts are here in Wimbledon. He said he doesn't like it, that you almost can't hit a winner here. And he said that when he played in the 90s, the grass court tennis was a different game. He said he's afraid that the Federer slice has not the bite on this surface that would have in the past. A bit worrying. I hope he isn't right. Greetings. Great show, by the way. Good fun. Know-how. And I love Mr. Goat." By the way, here's a picture of Mr. Goat taking a listen to the Rafa press conference. And Mr. Goat picked out a couple little things. Take a listen.
You spent a lot of time at Wimbledon over the years. I'm curious if you've ever taken time out to notice how many nice flowers they have here.
I don't know, man. Sorry, I cannot tell you a clear answer. And that's it. No.
This is hilarious. Ben Rothenberg from the New York Times, I guess he's going to do a piece on the great flower arrangements at Wimbledon in the New York Times or something like that. Because he's asking all these players, have you ever noticed the beautiful flowers when you come here to play Wimbledon? And Roger gave a very thoughtful response. At first he was kind of like, not really. Well, I noticed the ivy. I like the ivy everywhere, which, that's the one thing I noticed too. Yeah, that's really cool. Flowers? Come on. We ain't looking at flowers. The ivy wall, that's hard to miss. That's kind of cool. And then Roger says, in the first week when you come here early and just practice, it's very relaxed. You see all the flowers. You see the color scheme. Wimbledon's got the purple and green. And, I like that. But then once the tournament starts, you're really busy. You don't notice that stuff. But when Ben Rothenberglers when he asked Rafa if you noticed the beautiful flowers.
I don't know, man. Sorry, I cannot tell you a clear answer.
My friends, I'm telling you, the language barrier here, this is part of it. I know Rafa speaks pretty good English now, but Rafa hears this question and is like, this does not compute. And he's thinking to himself like, this is some kind of weird American artsy thing. This is some kind of slang lingo. It's not about flowers. It's like some kind of trick question. He's either asking me if I'm involved in some kind of drug culture or if I'm a homosexual, and I'm just going to say, no, I cannot help you with that. And no, sorry, I have no answer for this question. I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, Rafa's thinking like, is this some kind of weird slang? Is this some kind of thing teenagers are doing now back in the United States? No thanks, Ben Rothenberg. You're not going to trap me with your weird question. I guarantee you that's what went through Rafa's head. On to Mark Malk, who went into a little more detail. Tommy Haas has just been invited into the German Sky Sports studio and talked about the court speed. He literally said, it is sad how slow it is compared to the tennis we could play here 10 to 15 years ago. The balls are so big and heavy. The court doesn't reward offensive play at all anymore. You can play a great offensive forehand, for example, and be pushed into a defensive position with the very next strike. I really miss the finesse and the wit you need to play on grass many years ago. It's painful to watch, to be honest, but it is how it is. He also said, Djokovic is the top favorite. It's just too slow for Roger Federer. Djokovic, Rafa Nadal. Fairness first. And finally, evidence before you for the crazy people out there saying, the courts aren't slow. What are you talking about? Same as always, Matt. Same as always. All right, take a listen. This is from tennis.com, where I first heard the green clay stuff. I'm taking a line or two from every player they quoted in that article. Let's start with Riley Opelka. The slowest I've ever seen a grass court play. Sloane Stephens. I thought they were super, super slow. They as in the courts. Karolina Pliskova. The ball just stays. It doesn't go. I thought if I hit a good serve, I could have the point. It was more rallies than I thought there was going to be. Which she was so upset about, she did this. Belinda Bencic. I remember the serve was more effective the years before. Now it's like everybody can return it. Dennis Kudla. These courts are so slow right now, it's crazy. And of course, Roger Federer. After his first match, he says, I just felt like it was slow. I couldn't really have an impact. I don't think I hit an ace in the first two sets. Why does it matter? Because we need different courts. It depends. What kind of tennis do you want to watch? What kind of game do you want to see? Do you want every court to be exactly the same? If you do, comment below. We'd love to hear it. But me, I don't think so. We need the diversity. We need the fast hard court and the medium fast, kind of slower hard court. The slow clay and the grass, which is fast. It doesn't have to be fast enough to be serve bot tennis all the time, but it needs to be faster than this year, because this year, honestly, is disgraceful. All right, hit the music. We're going to get out of here. That's enough of me. We'll be back for the Patron Saints. If you're not a Patron Saint, go to patreon.com/coffeebreaktennis right now. Become a part of the team. You will get our bonus shows. Tomorrow we'll do a bonus show where we talk about the women's game. I really think Serena's going to win at this point. But tomorrow, Stritsova has a chance. A better chance than Halep or Svitolina. So we'll talk about whatever happens in the women's matches tomorrow. And my final thoughts before we get into what is probably the best day of tennis. Semifinals Friday at Wimbledon. Roger Rafa, Djokovic, Bautista, Agut. You'll get my final thoughts tomorrow. If you are one of our very special, important people, Patron Saints. See ya!